This is a conversation which has been actually, very vaguely circulating for a while. I was around when Mudassir killed himself. I was around when Rohit killed himself. I kind of knew Vishal. I mean, none of these people I have known personally in any intimate way. But one thing that strikes me is that there is the issue of the general brutality of social interaction. There is a brutalization that is constantly happening.
Yes.
But there is a particular character to the brutalization that happens in certain spaces. The academic space is one such.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, for example, I don't know if you've seen Rohit's abstract that he wrote for the sociology conference, right? Which was not accepted. I felt like, if that abstract had come into my hand, things would have been very different. Not because I would have accepted that abstract, but I could have explained to Rohit why it's a fantastic research problem and why it cannot be done the way in which he wants to do it. I have a very similar feeling about Vishal. Vishal's PhD is on a topic which is not easy to work on. And I don't believe that anybody in his department, among his advisors, would have told him that. Mudassir is a completely different issue with an additional complication of a Kashmir Muslim. After 2 days, I start getting calls from.
Very religious Muslim.
I started getting phone calls from undergraduate Muslim students in IFLU saying, "Sir, he used to tell us to read the Quran. How could he be gay? We just don't know how to deal with this fact." Right? Now, there's nobody around on that campus to talk to them. Nobody at all. The proctor, such a complete idiot, when he knew what happened, he said, "Go to the police." How can the police deal with a problem like this? It is impossible. Mudassir was a Kashmiri Muslim student in Hyderabad, English and Foreign Languages University, and he was gay, broke up with his partner, couldn't handle it, he was stalking his partner. The partner got upset at some point of time, went and spoke to the proctor. The proctor told this boy, "If you're feeling so threatened, go and talk to the police." So he goes to the police. The police call this guy, and the first question they ask him, "Were you there in the protests when Afzal Guru was hanged?" And then they further continue the conversation about this particular relationship. That night, Mudassir comes home and hangs himself. Now, why did he hang himself? Was it because he was scared that his whole family will get to know about this? Was it because of something else? Was it because of something else? Right? What strikes me is that, first of all, precisely because there are so many different kinds of normativities, so many different kinds of risks involved, so many different things that just cannot be articulated. Everything is so risky and dangerous. The danger can come from yourself, it could be coming from outside. Right? I mean, Mudassir killed himself, Mudassir could have been killed.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with Vishal, same thing with Rohit. Anything could have happened to these people. So one part of this is about creating a safe space where they can come and feel that they are accepted and they're part of a community and so on and so forth. But I'm not sure that that is enough. Because at least as part of the academic community, I know that there is a particular kind of work that needs to be done in the academic space. I mean, somebody has to tell Vishal and Mudassir and Rohit that this is what the university system works like. They have no idea. They have no idea where the papers will go. They have no idea what they are supposed to do with their research projects, ideas. Zero. Nobody tells them that this is not how you formulate a problem. Nobody tells them that this is how you can formulate a problem. Nobody tells them that if you formulate a problem like this, you're going to get into trouble. And so, the Dalit identity on campuses is exactly the same situation as what you're talking about as the problem of the LGBT community. It's so deeply politicized, and politics is all that it has, and all that seems to be happening on campuses is that the national level politics have to be played through the bodies of Dalit students on campus. And it just cannot be possibly done. So you have an extremely dangerous situation on all these campuses, and we don't know how to intervene. So one of the conversations that we were having, Ndivar was also there in Delhi. First thing that Gautam pointed out is that one of the things that has actually saved a couple of students in JNU campus is being Dalit and queer. Right? So you've somehow figured out how to stitch two different things so that you can, yahan pe gadbad hua to wahan pe gadbad hua to yahan. You're able to navigate a very complicated space where you can tactically survive in different kinds of spaces, each of which can become very dangerous. But the question that we were asking ourselves is that how do we actually create specific kinds of resources and skill sets as part of these safe spaces, right? I mean, how do I make sure that students who are at risk on these campuses have access to people who can actually keep talking to them and push them in particular direction? How does one even build that? The first thing that the IFLU campus did when there was a lot of noise is to build a counseling center with a barbed wire around it, and there's one ugly board on top of it with 2 hours every day and a phone number. You look at that and you're scared. You don't want to go anywhere near that. You don't want to talk to Meena in HCU because you know that she's connected to so many different places on campus. You reveal anything about yourself to her, you don't know where it is going to go. And she's supposed to be the counselor. And she's the one who's brought when students are protesting. She comes there, looks at them, doesn't know what to say. She has nothing to say because nobody will trust her. So I just wanted to throw that up as an issue because it's a challenge in terms of figuring out how to put together a space. And one of the things that Gautam and I were discussing and kind of agreed on is that maybe what we need to do at this point is not even to think about it as a durable space, but as a space that is produced repetitively through events, right? So every month you have a PhD students cafe, and that cafe for 4 hours is open. Anyone who is doing PhD with, whether you're worried about your boyfriend, girlfriend, advisor, your sexuality, whatever it is, show up. We are around. We don't have any solutions to give you, but we are around, we can talk. Because we know how horrible that space of doing a PhD is. We've been through it, we have figured out how to do it, and we can make it look like a reasonable journey to make if you want to. If you don't want to make it, just get out of it.
No, but also interestingly, I was talking to Chainika, Bombay, after Vishal's thing, and we were talking about the entire process of PhD. Such a especially in social sciences, such a lonely process. At 5 years to work with yourself, even a lot of people ask me like, I'm going for 5 years course in Bodh Gaya and like, how can I do it? I'm like, see, I will have other monks, nuns along with me. We all sit, talk, we are working on same thing. In a PhD for 5 years to work on the same thing, and each one of you are doing different things, and each one of you in rush of completing your own thing. There is no possibility of any kind of support system by any means. I mean, also.
And unlike the monastery, this is a place where you're competing.
You're competing.
It's a liberal, lonely self that is artificially produced, right?
And in a monastery, I believe you're told what to do, what not to do, and everything. You're explained, because we believe in, you're taught, you learn, and all that. In an academic area, as you said, one is supposed to understand everything untold, unsaid, unexplained. Will not do anything. It's everything there. This is how the system has been working for centuries, or whatever 1 century, 2 centuries we have universities for, and this is how you fit in. You figure out your way. You need to do it. We are not going to help you through this. You live through it. You are fortunate or unfortunate. You do not live through it. We'll have some days of dharnas and protest. We'll deal with that. We'll still survive. As an academic space, we are not going to end by any means. It's up to you whether you survive us or not. And that's how academic spaces have been doing. And also when it's about counseling and all that. I remember once I was out of Nizam College and everything, and once few students approached me saying that there is something happening in the hostel between boys. Whatever sexual issue or sexual conduct or whatever, I do not know exactly. And then they asked me if I can be of any help. I said, okay. I immediately reached out to the counseling center, the psychology department over there, and I spoke to the head of the department of psychology. They're like, they're doing all this, they need to be punished, expelled. This is immediate reaction. I'm not even saying who is who now, I'm leaving. I think in the first place, counselors shouldn't be from the campus.
Yeah.
They need to be people from outside. Because while you point out saying how can they reach out to someone in the campus, what is the name you have taken? Because it's real. You can't reach out to someone where you actually can't place your trust. And someone from the entire point of going to a psychologist, sitting for a counseling therapy, whatever, is basically you can talk to a stranger without thinking what the stranger will judge you. And the stranger who will do that job by charging is a psychologist or a counselor. So if it is a stranger outside, rather than a known whatever person, however good, nice, it's a different thing, I think. But someone a stranger outside is much safer. I think university should provide that, who don't have any contacts within the campus with anyone, but an independent person who works through the university, helps people, simply listens to them. On phone call also, not necessarily go and talk. Give a phone call and talk. And that's something is not there, I think, in any university. Private universities what are coming up, a lot of them, they say, Ambedkar University has a huge counseling center. So I went to Ambedkar University quite some time back, and
in Delhi.
And the student was, yeah. So a friend of mine was taking me around, showing this as a counseling center and all that. Oh, I was like quite excited. It seems to be quite active. I was quite excited. Oh, everyone can go sit and talk. No, they charge you. If they don't pay, you can't pay. They'll think of lessening it and all that. But there's so much of demand. Your appointment time is so much. When someone wants to talk, it's not someone wanting to wait and then strategize and say what I want to do. It's not a paper presentation that I want to present to you and where you'll charge me for my own paper presentation like all other conferences do. Yeah. Like I need to be able to reach out when I want to talk rather than when you have time. And that's not happening because we think, what is there in talking? I mean, like how many we provide? We think, oh, without even trying, we give up. That it is not a feasible idea.
Nalsar has done that actually. They have a
outside person.
They have a person.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, she runs this center in near Alwal, Karkhana ke paas. What's her name? Rachel, Vanessa, some Christian name. But she is available to people on campus. She's an outsider. And she's very firm with the campus. She won't let anybody do any kind of cross connections and cross talk.
These days, even to think of counseling centers in Hyderabad and people whom we think to be LGBT friendly, queer friendly, think of suggesting them, referring to them as counselors and people who come to. And when we do, we get completely different feedback. People who claim to be queer friendly and all that ends up something else completely. So one center which is popular, which comes to every counseling center, every queer event and distributes pamphlets, come talk to us and all that. My dad ended up finding someone to take me there. where I've gone. And this clinical psychologist sat through me for 3 hours to talk to me, to make sure that I understand how normal I'm not. And before me, the session he was taking was younger, I think 2021, brother, mother and father, 3 of them brought her there. I think they have been bringing her there for quite some time. The entire purpose of bringing her there was, my girl or my daughter is in love with someone. Make sure she forgets that someone she is in love with and she marries whom I pick up now. And this doctor, this clinical psychologist is actually doing the job. He is explaining right in front of me. When you brought your daughter to me, she was 100% this height. Now 80% she's here. Few more sessions, she'll be ready. You can marry off her to whomever you want to marry.
Yeah, no, then asking.
They used to take to all babas and all that. Now they're taking to psychologists. I mean, that's a progressiveness we have come to.
Then why are you studying psychology? You are going to
I'm talking to Buddhist psychology.
So what is going to happen after that?
The Buddhist psychology is less of a science which talks about practicality, rationality and reality in that sense as we think in world.
No, tell us the entire course. I asked why Buddhist psychology and philosophy is what the 5-year program is going to be. So how and where, because there will be so much learning. So
Where
what is going
this?
to happen with all that?
So yeah, I'm going to go to both in August. I'm going to be there for based out of next 5 years. And
But ready to come for those in.
It's the heartland of the Iron Age.
Yeah. And then Kantik Plain and Magad and yeah.
No, seriously.
Yeah, yes.
That was where all the power of a particular historical period lies.
Yeah.
Because they could make weapons. Iron ore.
Oh, I'm very compassion.
That's why Buddha got enlightened. Yeah. So there's an institute called Root Institute. This was established in 1970s, I think. 1970s, and they have interesting stories how they were constantly looted by all whatever goons over there and all that from time to time and all that. And they've recently started. It's a recent thing. They started a course which is for 5 years, where they teach you the entire or as much as they can teach in 5 years, I believe, Tibetan Buddhism in large. Again, part of Tibetan Buddhism is Buddhist psychology and philosophy and debate, like training monks and nuns in debate. And also because Tenzin, my mentor in Palampu, she's like, you can't really sustain in or survive in a monastery so easily. We are too whatever orthodox in our own way, I think. You should find some other place other than a monastery. So this is where I landed up, Root Institute, which is not a monastery because both nuns, monks, and also there are lay people. But interestingly, I happen to be the whatever they call it, the first Indian monk. Yeah, going there, being part of the institute.
Who are the others?
Tibetans are white people mostly.
And what are these lay people? They're foreigners who have come to study.
Who have come to study. So they offer you place, food and stay, and you can study, and it's donation basis. You can give anything, offer anything, offer. If you cannot offer anything, cannot offer anything. They'll figure out. So, and the course lasts for 5 years, 8 months a year. 4 months is they say holiday, but for me, as much as I look at study is an important thing, reading and studying. So different schools of Buddhism emphasize on different things. So especially the Dalai Lama school, the Gelug school, emphasizes on studying. Like study is important. And the tradition where I am ordained, it emphasizes on practice, not study much. So we believe whatever you're looking for is within, and you need to look deep in your own self to find it rather than looking at many scriptures. And also, I think, because Tenzin and I also get along very well, where we think people study so much, and the highest degree in Tibetan Buddhism is Geshe. It's for 11 years. So you study for 11 years and you're called a teacher called Geshe, whatever. And they all become suddenly very, like, we are the most learned beings and everyone else, even in Buddhism. So Tenzin and I have quite a problem with that, and we believe as much as you study, one need to take time off to sit and reflect and contemplate on what you're studying. Otherwise, you're merely memorizing and knowing a strategy or building up a strategy of education or knowledge or information, not wisdom. So 8 months I'll study, in 3 months or next 4 months, whatever is there, is a retreat. In silence, contemplating whatever I'm studying. So philosophy and all that. So in Buddhism, I think, as at least in Tibetan Buddhism, we say there are some 64,000 scriptures, which we certainly can't finish in one lifetime. So mostly they focus on Buddha's teachings, and then they focus on other bodhisattvas, whoever are enlightened after Buddha, whoever are the awakened beings, their teachings. So as much as they teach about Buddha's teachings and things, for us it is important that we learn whatever we're learning. While we're learning, we also need to work with whatever social projects they have. So they have a HIV children's home, then a school, then a community health clinic. We apply our learnings in our practice. That's how we. That's how, which I thought is interesting than a monastery. Monastery is more like you are secluded. You are in your own space, continuously studying and performing the rituals. Your engagement with outside world is quite minimal. So over here it is unlike that. You study, but also you engage with the world with what you're studying.
So you will have the time to teach the children. It will have to be quite regular.
Yeah.
You will have
I want to take the time out, and otherwise my idea of entire choosing this institute wouldn't make any sense. Otherwise I would rather be in a monastery and simply reading and meditating myself. But I believe as much as you read, it's also important that you connect with people, and also for me, most of my life, whatever I've learned is more experiential than in a college or a university or in a classroom. And that, I think that's not going to change anyway if I'm a Buddhist monk or not. So yeah, so we constantly, one thing is we have so philosophy, psychology, debate. So with debates, we constantly have different monastery people, different nunnery people come together for debating, nuns and monks. So like with my mentor, the nunnery she runs, for the first time, I think in the longest time, like bunch of nuns debated with bunch of monks. That's something quite not imaginable idea within Buddhism again. Nuns and monks, because again within Buddhism, whatever the orthodox idea that birth of a woman is of lesser being than man is how it is at least propagated right now. And also because Buddha denies, with the first asking, Buddha denies ordaining for both his mother and stepmother and wife. It was after later persuasion that Buddha accepts, or at least that's how story goes. So one is as much another thing I'm learning or practicing largely is as much as to see Buddha left, gone, enlightened or whatever and all that. But how did Yashodhara live back? That's one thing I'm working on. And what is her story? He left, he got his enlightenment, whatever and all that, and he has become Buddha, and he taught for 40 years after his enlightenment. But what happens to Yashodhara? Bringing up son and being with the in-laws family, and then later on going and joining the Sangha. So her story is also interesting, what I'm looking at now. So I would rather, as much as I want to look at Buddha's entire teachings of psychology, I would also want to look at Yashodhara's right to it's a relational journey more than a lonely journey of going. Yashodhara's is more a relational journey. Your journey is more to do how you stay back in the world, and what kind of relationships you have with people, and how with those relationships you have your journey forward and have your enlightenment. So I want to focus that part of Buddhist psychology rather than focusing merely and leaving and going, because, well, I might become a monk.
They won't throw you out, I hope.
I hope not. I hope not.
Then you come right back here.
I will.
We'll give you many yatrodras to study.
I hope not.
Jayaprabha wrote a poem, no? Yashodhara Vagapati.
Ah. I've heard it, but I don't remember reading it. Yeah.
Quite a nice poem.
Interesting, no? Like how she stays behind and does the job and everything, and then they meet, and then she and mother actually pursue Buddha. Like when he denies first, as story goes, they walk following him behind him. Prajapati, the stepmother, Yashodhara, and few other women from the palace. They all walk and follow him and persuade him that his cousin, Buddha's cousin Ananda, tells him that They all already are following you, whether you ask them or not. I think you need to accept them, and that is when he accepts them and makes them as part of the Buddhist Sangha. They're the first ordained woman. I'll just say.
I always find Ananda was a much more human
Is more
creature that moved towards evolution rather than Buddha. Buddha
Ananda
somehow has come to us as a finished piece.
Yeah, I mean, like Buddha's evolution.
There's also there must be actually significant amount of material in Sri Lankan Buddhism.
There are in Buddhism, yes.
Anuradha.
Yes. Yeah. So Sri Lanka is interesting that way. A few nuns, I think, few years back, went on saying that you don't need to ordain us, we'll ordain ourselves. We don't need monks to ordain us, we'll ordain ourselves, and they ordain themselves, and they're doing that.
In fact, Mahendra's sister goes there because the king there said, "I want something for women." So she went there specifically to set up a monastery for women.
Oh yeah, Buddhism that way. I mean, as much as everyone wants to, even in Dalit or Dalit activism, talk about Ambedkar and Buddhism, thinking Buddhism is all beautiful, like snow walk, cake walk, and all that. we have the. I mean, when I sit and read, we have stories of demons, we have stories of pretas, we have heavens, hells, everything. As much as we want to say that we are only rational, I mean, like, please no. We have our own mess to sort out and deal with, and that's the reason Tenzin tells whenever Ambedkarites and Dalits talk about Buddha and Buddhism as rational and everything.
Very sanitized Buddha.
Yeah. As much as they read Ambedkar and talk about Ambedkar and Buddhism, they also should read Buddhism before they talk about Buddhism.
Yeah, I think you should also read Buddhism a little bit before talking about Ambedkar.
Yeah.
I think we don't know what Ambedkar made of Buddhism. other than everybody knowing that was his exit from Hinduism.
But Ambedkar के सामने जब नारियल फोड़ते हैं ना, my heart just breaks into pieces. Really. और ये तो तुमसे जाके लड़ता है कि तुम नारियल फोड़े 14th April को, how dare you?
नारियल फोड़ेंगे, दूध से धुलाएंगे,
तिलक लगाते हैं.
Of course, yes.